Holy heroes, baby. We got Doorman, a brand new character dropping into Night Shift for shift number 3, and he's not the only one. He's disorienting map control. He plays mind games, and Jake got bamboozled in his latest attempt. Jake, we're going to talk about that in just a moment. We also have a special guest joining the show. She goes by the name of Paige, and what should we know about this book reader?
I mean, Paige offers a lot of utility. We're seeing people build her in different ways right now. I think for me, it looks like support maybe is the stronger version of the build with all the control and buffs that she can put on the enemy team and offer to her teammates. But I've seen people be building her like pure gun damage. So we'll have to see what the pros think here as we get into Deadlock Night Shift.
Were you getting Velma, Miss Frizzle, or Hermione vibes most when you were playing her, ZP?
I mean, look, all the above. I had a conversation with Hex the other day. It was just like, yeah, he said Velma, I said Miss Frizzle. It's like, really, it's all the above that's going on here. Just, every book archetype, throw it into one character. And actually, she's also really powerful right now.
Well, pros from your host, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chris Puckett. We got Jake over there hanging out with Z Pizzle. They'll be casting your European games. And tonight, we've got some great games with some serious money, and you guys can keep your wallets in your pockets for now. Why? Because this episode is on behalf of our friends at Intel. Jake, Intel coming on is a huge thing for us here at Night Shift. What do the people need to know?
I mean, it's just huge that they came on to support, that we can keep running. I mean, longtime fans of us and maybe some other events we've been involved in will remember that Intel has been a part of the Deadlock scene here for quite a while, and we're just happy to bring them back on board, continue to operate things here at Night Shift, and bring some prize pool, bring some stakes so that we can continue to come back week after week after week. However, we still need your support for the community. This is kind of something coming from many different fronts in terms of having community support, having sponsors. We're trying to do everything we can to make this all sustainable, but it's huge that Intel has come in and really assisted in that team effort.
ZP, what does it mean for tonight's prize pool?
What it means is that the prize pool is right back up to $1,000 per region. So also worth noting in terms of crowdfunding right now, we're not taking crowdfunding for the prize pool on today's show because Intel is handling it. But we would encourage people to take a look at the Patreon and other stuff we'll talk about later in the night to support the show in general. But thank you, Intel, for coming back in and giving us a great prize pool for the teams once again.
That's right. And this Saturday, we have something very special happening. It's our ASUS CS event. Jake, it's going down at 4 p.m. Eastern. How is Night Shift involved? What are we getting into?
Yeah, so I mean, working with Intel on Deadlock, on some rival shows, we thought that they wanted to bring in ASUS and want us to try our hand at a CS2 show. We've also got a fan favorite casting duo coming back into that. So I don't want to say too much, but some homegrown talent here at Night Shift, some a fan-grown duo, I would say, from the CS space. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to bring a lot of teams together.
Reunited with a $10,000 invitational for CS. And it starts this weekend. I'm pretty excited about that. DDK will put his thoughts in a little bit later. We got to start, though, with Deadlock in Europe because Europe always goes first, so we let them go to bed at a reasonable time. ZP, who's playing tonight? What's the format for this evening? What should anyone who is tuning in to their first episode of Night Shift expect?
Well, first things first, we kick things off with our challenger match. It is a best of one, and the winner goes on to the money match, where you play for a winner-take-all $1,000. And EU, as always, a little bit of turmoil where it's hard to stay on top for long. Abrahams won shift number 1, but Buff Enjoyers in their last week as Virtus Pro came in and took the crown away. So now Abrahams, they're the ones that have to go through the challenger match to get the right to play in the money match later on in the day. And Abrahams, also a team that tends to adapt and come back stronger after a loss.
Is this a two-team race right now in Europe? Is there a chance Lotos comes out and hands out a loss with the new characters involved, Jake?
I mean, I think this is a week for the upsets, Puckett. I'm glad you mentioned that because I think you bring in new characters to the game and, these are strong players on all these teams. If anybody's got some cheeky pocket strats, maybe using some of the new heroes in unconventional ways, right? That's something we've seen historically over time in Deadlock where you can really play characters in very different ways. There's builds that take a while to reach prominence, but if you get to be that first mover, if you're the innovator pushing what's possible on one of these new characters, new builds, maybe you could squeeze out a win over a team that would normally be favored against you.
Big shout out to everyone who just joined us over on twitch.tv. We're also up and running over on YouTube, and we'll be on Kick here It's a fantastic community. We're growing every week. Your guys' support was ridiculous. As someone who had worked on 4 different games over the 5 weeks previous to it, this was one of the highlights for me. DDK was telling me how good it was going to be. But Jake, you were the first one who got me excited about Deadlock. After hearing a year of ZP squawking about it, you finally sold me to hop on the show at EWC. What are you expecting tonight? Because we missed you last week with the internet outage. What are you looking forward to as we start things off here with Europe?
Yeah, I'm just excited, especially to see the new heroes getting played. I think that's the big moment right now in Deadlock. Well, not just the new heroes, but also some of the map tweaks and a lot of the, polish that Valve has really put on the game in this recent patch. It's definitely an exciting moment for Deadlock and for people who've been following the game for a long time, but also maybe for people who are just coming back now and wanted to see, okay, where is this game at? Maybe you enjoyed it. Maybe you checked it out on the earlier side of the open beta and maybe getting back into it now. So it's a good moment, I think, for a lot of fans, whether long time or returning, to come back and just see what Deadlock has new and fresh, because so much has been polished. A lot of the item system has been made more streamlined if you played quite a long time ago. And with all the new heroes, it's a great moment where things are chaotic. It's like a good time to jump back in and get into some games. And obviously here at Deadlock Night Shift, we get the best players in North America and in Europe to play for us. And in that competition, you generally get a lot of information for, taking into your games. How do you want to play these characters? You can really learn a lot from the best players here.
All right, ZP, your turn. We've got Intel Gamer Days. We've got the Intel Aces CS Invitational. We've got some big teams from EU. What do you want to talk about first?
I think for me, I just want to talk about how this first draft is going to go down, because the reality is that we've added so much new power into the game here that you stop and think about it, where as we go into the draft, right? Maybe something like Doorman is so strong that it gets first banned all day today, but that also means you're not going to be able to first ban other picks that were generally seen as really strong, like your Vindictas or your Holidays. So regardless, you're guaranteed to see a new twist on gameplay here today, even if the brand new heroes in Doorman and Paige are often banned. Other stuff is going to get out of jail as a result. So it means that beyond all the normal reasons why the meta might shift from week to week, we're just guaranteed a fresh look this week.
Yeah, we gave out a MVP, I believe, to 7. We gave out an MVP to Viscous. Jake, Doorman MVP for all the games tonight? Expectations?
I mean, I think Doorman's a really interesting character to watch, because it's one of those characters that even if you just play it for the first time and you dig it, you like it, it's a character that just obviously has so much depth to it, that really is going to shift how the game is played. And you can do so many different things with the portal doors, and there's so many, mind games, so much trickery you can pull off with the character. It's one of those characters I think we'll see evolve week to week to week. I hope it's not permabanned by the teams. I hope some teams, are prioritizing or just letting it through or getting it in that early picks, because I just think it's going to be great to watch, what sort of team play strategies people pull out, right? With like dooring their whole team, into a fight or going for some crazy split push. Feels like there's a lot of possibilities with the Doorman, and it's going to be great to see the best players in the game show what they've got.
We expect a Doorman chat. The Asian Enigma says, I expect Doorman in the first matchup. Nah, I don't like that other one. So I don't know which other character he's talking about. We'll figure that out, chat, in a moment. In the meantime, we know which players will be competing. Let's start here with the rosters as we take a look at the hero priority from shift number 2. Those were the top bans from last week. As we go into week 3, who are players expected to bring out in the early game? ZP, walk me through the Abrahams, our champs from week 1.
I think what I'm looking forward to the most for Abrahams is that Saint, the player that has maybe the most prolific Kelvin in the game, certainly in EU, now has another really viable option where at times Saint will get hit with a Kelvin ban, or teams will go out of their way to take Kelvin away. But now Saint actually can come in with Paige, which may be even more of a better fit to how supportive Saint generally plays on the Kelvin. So I'm excited to see if that works out. The other thing I want to see is that Together, who's really known for playing frontline heroes, most frequently Yamato as of late, but previously Shiv, now has another tool in Billy, and Billy's felt pretty good overall. When you take a look at the value people have been able to get out of Billy, yeah, NA kind of dropped the ball last week, but they had like 2 hours to learn the heroes. So when I look at this roster, and I think in the context of new heroes coming out, I'm really looking to see if either Together or Saint are able to incorporate some of the new stuff into their gameplay, or on the same note, we'll see if they can get a Doorman getting played by someone like Tass.
Deathy says Doorman or bust. I haven't seen anyone mentioning Billy. Will we see Billy, or were the NA boys right? Is he absolute garb? Jake, you've got the most game time out of the three of us. So we take a look at the opposing squad, Lotos. Which one of these players might be ballsy enough to bring out the Billy Goat?
I think it's hard to say what role it's going to be. It seems like maybe it is that like frontliner initiator, but you also have some of the catch potential from the ulti. I think that maybe the problem with Billy is he's like such a heavy melee builder. It feels like that's kind of the way you've got to go with him in terms of like all his skills seem to really want you to play melee. And I'm a little sus on like the pure melee builds at top level play, where I feel like the players are so good at finding those parries. I think that's kind of the challenge, although it's not impossible. You can bait the parries out, very winnable. I am curious to see what Sonya wants to play. Sonya Sniper, another player that we've seen be super effective in the past. Maybe for Lotos could be interesting. I also think Taz, for Abrahams has been always such a strong player, and feels like he gets holiday banned against him like every single game. And maybe finally this week he's going to be able to play some holiday with maybe, as you guys mentioned, some of the other new heroes taking some of the ban pile. But we'll have to see. Lotos, I would say they're the serious underdog here with Abrahams being a recent champ. However, this is the moment to make an upset, right? If you can come out with a well-prepared strat pretty quick off the bat with the new hero releases, you could easily make your way into that challenger match.
ZP, I know you were working a lot on builds. What were you cooking up? What did you witness last week that was working? Is there anything that you think has been spiced up since then for Mina, or maybe some of the other more popular picks from week 1 or week 2, I should say?
Yeah, so one of the side projects we've been doing here, and we'll have a lot more this week, is that we're taking some of the best builds that we see every week and just putting them straight in the in-game. So, for example, if you were to go in-game right now and play Mina, you could search Deadlock Night Shift, and you would have Listic's build up there. And what you'd see for Listic's build is that Mina, not really great on gun scaling overall, besides just trigger and love bites, but Listic's build, the way he built it, just went pretty much hard spirit from the very beginning and made it work. The one thing I'll know about Mina, though, is that I feel like Mina's a character that is going to command a lot of farm if you pick her, and also doesn't do really well from behind. So I don't know if we're going to see Mina as a high prio pick, but something that instead gets picked a little bit later in the draft.
It's something that you use to kind of flex on your opponent right now. Is that how you're seeing it?
I think the character has a ton of skill expression, right? Yep. There's a lot of outplay potential, but I think ZP's right. It is like a very harassment, like kill heavy hero that wants to be maybe finding smaller numbers engagements. It seems to me, and kind of, dodging individual skills, taking 1v1s. And I think it is a little bit of weakness when you think about a major team fight in the late game. We talk about every skill being slammed on the Mina all at once. You just can't dodge them all. It doesn't have quite the same escape mobility as somebody like Pocket, who I almost think is like maybe a little bit of a similar role to Mina.
Enough filling. They're fighting, Jake. Let's jump into the 1v1s. Whose Mo is bigger?
I mean, it looks like a pretty even Mo 1v1. I mean, it's interesting to see like the meta evolve in this. It's just so many quick melees, the parry baiting, the fake parrying, and then all the dodging. It is like, I feel like this is something where we see how much the skill of players has changed week to week in terms of just mastering even something as simple as the melee aspect of the game.
Most never did this much wall jumping
out of control here, Zeeps. Can you tell me who is who, though? I struggle with this every week.
Saint is the Mo for Abrahams in the yellow and is nearly about to go down. Doesn't get hit by the parry, though. Is down to the wire. A little bit more acrobatics, and that is it. Abrahams not going to take the 1v1. So Lotos, they get their choice of first or second pick heading into this. And again, the way I see this going down right now, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like if you are second pick, you must ban Doorman with your first ban. That's where I'm seeing it right now.
I like this pick, unless we want to see Doorman, which is me and all of chat.
I want to see Doorman. Everyone wants to see Doorman.
So let's get Doorman into this game. If you're listening, Abrahams and Lotos, let's rock this. I see a lot of people in the chat, including my guy who says, ZP's voice is so smooth, it soothes my soul. You should listen to him at bedtime. Gives my kid nightmares. We take a look. Warden has been banned first here. Lotus doesn't want to deal with it. Did I nail that one? I can't see it from here, Z-Pizzle.
That is Warden, and yeah, Warden got taken out. So, I mean, Abrahams, you're not going to have to deal with ABL on the character, where it is one of ABL's very best characters right now. But on the same note for Abrahams, here's a question. They leave Doorman open. So for Lotos, you can first pick Doorman here. I got to say, though, I wasn't expecting the Pocket first ban. Really was not.
Really surprising. Maybe this is targeting I'm not as familiar with the Lotus players. Maybe they've got somebody who's like a pocket spammer who really wants to get the hero off. But as you mentioned, maybe that does open them to a Doorman first pick. I mean, Doorman's interesting. Like, it's really good, but I'm not as convinced it's like, is it like game winning broken? It feels like you can do crazy things with Doorman, but then again, I mean, a lot of the OG characters in Deadlock are insanely strong, do wild things, and Viscous has come up with its new nuking build recently with a max punch melee heavy style with express shot. You have a lot of burst power on this hero, and I actually like taking it first.
It was smart to turn to Paradox for help.
Paradox. This is a go-to. We see from the Abrahams in the past. Didn't work in the finals. Mina was pretty good.
I'm looking at this.
Go ahead, Z. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm looking at this and like I'm a little bit surprised. I thought they would have went Holiday here, but Paradox has gone up in prio. Now the question is, who do they go with? I feel like they still kind of feel the need to go. I was gonna say frontline, but no, they're just going for the tried and true. So this is super interesting to me. Both Paige and Doorman still available, so the comp scene, they're having a little bit of a different read.
We saw Vindicta last week. Abraham's locking her in. Viscous on the other side was MVP worthy. What does Lotos pair him with? Is it a him? They? We got Holiday in.
I think Viscous is, well, no one knows, right? Viscous is ill-defined. They are the good creature. whatever you want that to mean. Holiday, though, I think makes sense, especially against Vindicta and Paradox, where you've got really great initiation right now from Abrahams, which seems to be their priority. So they've got Vindicta as more of like a team fight initiator, Paradox great for like the individual pickoffs, and Lotos saying, okay, look, we need something that can kind of challenge for those individual pickoffs. Holiday and Viscous maybe also can assist in that, and Abrams as well is one of those few frontliners that maybe could survive getting swapped in by Paradox and try to play his way out of it.
I feel like this is a winning comp so far from Lotos. What do you ban to slow it down? Kelvin going with his go-to, not playing around with Paige.
Yeah, and I mean, look, for Saints, lots of hours on Kelvin, probably not as many hours on Paige. I was thinking maybe there's a world where you go for it, because I think Paige's ability to dictate mid-fights is, I would just think that there's still extra in the front line that they'd be looking for otherwise.
Yeah, they're a little low on frontliners. And the Shiv ban, I think, is actually smart from Lotos, targeting that same idea, right? Where, something that ABL could come out on and be that, aggressive frontliner making space. However, with the Kelvin, I feel like you have a little bit more latitude maybe on the frontliner, since the Kelvin's going to pump so many heals. You could be somebody who's not necessarily the most conventional, strongest frontliner, but with the Kelvin supporting you, you can kind of be that tag team if you want to play that way at all. And yeah, Mo Krill could be that.
I was going to ask when the Mo's coming out and if Lotos was going to get to it.
I would say a lot of stuns on Lotos, so Mo isn't going to have the easiest time just getting full combos off, but you catch somebody alone on Mo Krill and you got a little bit of assistance with you, they're just done for 9 times out of 10. So you can really see the vision here. There's like swap into Mo combo. Vindicta could be staking people down, letting Mo catch up, and it's Lotos who are going to take the Billy's here.
In. ZP, you got him. Will we see a Doorman or is ZP double correct on the night? Start with why you thought Billy deserved a spot in competition after looking so bad in Shift 2.
I just think the builds that people have come out with him, they've realized like not only the items that work well with Billy in terms of giving him a little bit extra survivability, but also the fact that just the ability combos, right? I don't think people had enough play time on him in NA to actually combo things like the Ram Rush into the bat like as well as they probably should have, or just how to time the ult. The extra play time has worked out, but with Infernus being snapped up by Lotos, I don't know what the last 2 picks are going to be for Abrahams. Maybe a Doorman fits in, but 7 is the notable hero that hasn't been picked yet that you would think would round things out. Is they go for Calico to round out some of their front line, and we have not seen that at all really in the last 2 weeks.
We have not seen any Calico on my show so far, Jake. Here we go. Final pick from each team. What do they need? What are you expecting?
I think the Calico makes sense here as one of the few heroes. I mean, even though it's not the strongest right now, that can potentially walk into like Lotos controlled territory and actually live to tell the tale with that ulti, playing her way out of some of those fights. And the 7 makes sense is like you needed some proper late game carry. Abrahams really didn't have that up to now. I still think this draft from Abrahams is very snowball dependent. Like Vindicta, Mo Krill, even Kelvin, these heroes want to like get ahead, play ahead. And continue to snowball. Calico could be part of that too. And then 7 brings this final backup late game. And Lotos, they're going to go with the Lash as well. I'm a little surprised to see Lash played here because Kelvin is somewhat of a counter to Lash. If Lash goes up for his ulti, you pop the Kelvin Dome, you just block the ulti no matter where you are. You can still get secure in the urn or securing a team fight with Lash, basically just waiting helplessly outside the shelter. So I like the vision for Abrahams. For Lotos, I think there's a lot of playmaking. They're very playmaking heavy. I think a lot of this is going to come down to how well like Billy and Holiday and Viscus and Abrams can catch and start these engagements. But both teams going kind of with that main solo carry, Infernus versus 7 for the ultra late here, which I think very much can go either way.
Draft is confused by this draft. Listen, we got one of our 4 new characters in. We could see more as the night continues. Billy rocking out for Lotos. If you were going to call the game ahead of time, what does Lotos have that Abrahams doesn't, Jake? You said it might be early game advantage?
Honestly, I think Abraham's maybe a little bit better in the early game, a little bit better snowball potential off the lanes. However, I think if Infernus is like even farm with 7 and Infernus hits like the ultra late, I think that the team fighting starts to get better for Lotos once they start getting, really, really tanky. The big question mark is how well can Lash find connections? This is going to be potentially a scary game for Lash. With like the 7 stun and Mo combo, but if he can, if they can force the shelter early and Lash gets a big ulti, they have a monster follow up from the Abrams, from the Billy. They're going to control people for a very long time with Viscus as well.
Here we go, ZP. It's time to party. Abraham's taking on Lotos. This is our EU Challenger match. Who will move on to play the former VP squad, now known as the Buff Enjoyers? Only time will tell. Let's get into the game.
Let yourself down.
Yeah, we're heading into it, and Jake, as I think about this in the early to mid game, I actually do think like Abrahams needs to set the tone here early, just because the one situation I think would be absolutely awful for them when you look at the comps is that Lotos in the late game, if both Abrams and Billy get really ahead, I think they would just hit the point of just being able to run at Abrahams, and they don't really have the front line necessarily to deal with it. Kelvin helps a bit, but yeah, I mean, there's the way this will pan out. I think a lot is going to be decided by early to mid.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair to say here. I'm curious to see how this lane goes. The Viscus Billy, in theory, if Billy can get connections here, Viscus generally does a lot of poke. However, I think Vindicta, in my experience, is one of the hardest matchups for Viscus, and she plays at such a naturally long range, and she has the flight, and it's just so much harder to land splatter on her than feels like most other characters in the lane. So that Paradox Vindicta lane could maybe take some of the smoke out of Lotos there, where Viscus Billy, they want to get close range, and I don't know if they're going to get that opportunity.
Yeah, not only that, Vindicta is one of the characters that can also safely kind of nibble away at the Viscus too with crows over time. Just the consistency of landing crows just kind of catches up on you. But, taking a look at mid lane here, this is interesting. Going with the Paradox Mo, where normally we've been seeing a lot of people from mid lane do things like run, say, Yamato Mirage and go for like ultra high poke. This is an interesting lane to me because you still have the consistency of poke from the Paradox with Mo just being a huge in-your-face threat while, keeping things pushed up.
Yeah, I mean, Mo's just going to perma-shove this lane from the Foggy. I don't know that Lotos really has anything to do about that. This is, I think, not the strongest lane, frankly, in the mid from Lotos, but they don't necessarily need to put much pressure on. I think it's mostly just farm trade.
Jake, is this accurate? Are names accurate right now? Is it Saint on Mo and Jamside on the Kelvin?
That would be pretty surprising. We'll see. Maybe we'll get confirmation on that one. But you never know. Maybe it's a gun Kelvin carry.
It's accurate. We just got word from production so this is super interesting. We haven't seen a lot of Jamside on Kelvin. I think it actually has happened like once.
Wait. He has heal shot. I think he's going gun carry. Honestly, on Kelvin.
What?
Because I don't think you buy that heal shot on support Kelvin. I just don't think you do that. I think that is a common core starting item when you're going to go for a gun carry build. I've seen gun Kelvin before, actually, and I think
have we seen it on a night shift yet? He's always seemed to be support Kelvin when I watch.
I don't know if we've seen it on night shift, but I kind of see the vision because gun Kelvin inside the Thunderdome with his ulti is a monster because he does so much damage. He's healing constantly from that. And then you think about some of these Lotus heroes that have no choice but to come into close range. What are they going to be able to do? I mean, that's saying it's not confirmed yet. You could just build the casual heal shot here and be using it to hold the lane, but I'm a little expecting it to be gun Kelvin.
I thought it was top tier pause conversation. Sorry, ZP, back to you.
Yeah, the interesting thing to me, Jake, is that you'd have to go back to some of the ancient Kelvin play to go back to the last time we saw gun Kelvin, and there was a ton of gun nerfs that came in, both to Kelvin and orange items back in the day that kind of stopped it. But blast from the past, if that's going to be the case. But the fact that Jamside is playing, it does kind of lend to the idea that it would be the case with how Jamside usually plays.
I like the way Billy's using those boxes on the side lane. Big trades coming here against the Calvin, who, I mean, if this is Gun Calvin, it's a very, like, weak lane, frankly, right? 7 Calvin. It seems like, especially if they're both building for carry and farm potential, doesn't seem like there's much harass. And that Gun Calvin doesn't really get online until you get a few items on the board.
Yeah, I mean, the lane that seems most interesting to me is the lane that also is getting a bit of a beating when you're doing Viscous Billy, but Pyro can be first to fall in together, dropping it in, parry on tower, down goes Viscous, and kind of rare to see a Viscous lane have trouble early on too.
Yeah, it's this Vin matchup. It's a pretty hard one, you know. And Vin is just this hero that is never going to come into close range, especially being able to play under tower here. I don't think, you know, it's interesting for me because I feel like Viscous is best when he's paired with a strong combo harasser, and I just don't think Billy is like a harassment hero in the lane. I think Billy needs to like all in commit super hard, or you know, be hard to jump on, like be sort of defensive. But to poke on people who are just playing under tower, I don't see it.
Cool slam coming in from Billy, bring Vindicta to the ground. But yeah, I mean, for Billy, that's where like some people are theorizing maybe you run Billy with something like a Paige, just because like rather than doing an HP trade, you walk in with a barrier and you know effectively it's no trade at all. But yeah, the laning is probably gonna be one of the rougher elements for Billy here. Is you know it's been out for a week now, but a week is not long enough to necessarily master all the ins and outs.
Still relatively even laning stage. I mean, I don't think he was kills, a 1k lead. It just doesn't matter that much. Saint taking a lot of pressure on Mo in the mid lane. And Mo's hero, when you get low, you start to have a real bad time in the lane. However, Paradox profiting from the space created. Mo seems to have slipped away for the moment. Problem with Mo is like once you're this low, you can't really come into range to pop your first go and get the heal. I wonder if he's going to take a base trip here.
Yeah, Mo has a kind of element of health momentum where if you're down a third HP, you have no problem just rushing the other hero to get your scoring off and get healed back up. But you get that low, it just, well, you go in for the score and you actually just might die. So you definitely don't want to fall that far behind. And meanwhile, that Vindicta lane still being brutal against the Viscous Billy lane off to the left. I mean, for Abraham's, it has been their best lane here so far.
Yeah, Taz is also, you know, using that HP advantage. Despite being alone in that lane and Mo having to go back to heal, Taz is like solo pressuring under Guardian, which is a big statement about how strong he is in this game in that moment. Seems like Infernus is peeled off to go grab a quick buff. Should be an uncontested pickup there. As, yeah, Paradox just a little bit too late for that. Maybe putting some harassment in, but yeah, just back to the mid lane for Taz. Nothing.
Zaf going back for the full heal, and you know, on the aggregate, Abraham's a bit ahead right now, but you actually look at where things are at Guardian-wise. They're getting very close to getting left Guardian down. So things getting a little bit rough here for Lotos, but
oh, nice grab.
Coming on down. Yeah, quick little grab, and Tass very late to fall here, but still gets his piece on the way.
I love that move from Saint. Immediately assisting, diving the tower, pulling some of the Guardian aggro as well to ensure that they're not getting that follow-up damage on Taz. And I mean, it looked like a good catch from Holiday, but they just don't have the HP to back it up. Lash is 1 HP, can't really come in and assist that. And so honestly, I think just biting off more than they can chew. Lash barely holding on to this, needs to just back and get a heal. I mean, it's just irrelevant in that lane at that low HP, can't even really come in to use the ultimate, use any skills. And yeah, that's Gun Calvin right there, for sure. He's got a battle vest, that is Gun Calvin.
Gun Calvin, welcome back. It's been a while, but here we go, Chain Gang coming on out. Baseball bat right on after, reasonable opening. There isn't enough damage here so far. Mo just kind of shrugs it off there, Jake. It's like you've hit your full combo and Mo just kind of shrugs.
Yeah, and Calico, a hero who, okay, you get the pull off, but then she's just instantly gonna ult, dodge a lot of the follow-up. Maybe you can perfect time it and prevent that. I'm not sure, because of course the Billy ult is gonna prevent those movement skills, but it feels like Calico is just a hard hero to initiate first on when she has the ulti on such a low cooldown.
Abraham's right now trying to turn their early advantage into an even bigger one. Taking a look at Saint right now, over the top, forcing Lash back. Back over here onto the left-hand side. Hasn't fallen here. Quick parry, though, coming out here from Calico. Into Billy back and forth, and now Calico just buying a little bit of time in the left-hand side. It's just Calico taking the farm, Vindicta coming back in, and now forcing movement back.
It's a nice rebuttal game, I think, as well for Calico, who he just makes it a lot more complicated to play against in these melee builds. And now Taz getting active, right? Using the assistance. Mo played a very self-sacrificial lane here, and Taz profited that here in the early game. 7 ult over the top. Does get cut down, though, by Holiday, and means this trade is relatively even, which you're pretty happy with as Lotos, who are a little bit behind in this game.
Yeah, looking at the left Guardian now under more significant pressure, and you got a third coming in, and straight off the zip line here, you got Sai in over the top. 3-on-2 opportunity here for Lotos to try and get either Calco or Vindicta. Seismic Slam up and looking. Down it goes. This is going to be enough. Heavy pressure here on the Calco, but the parry comes in. It still might get away.
Maybe, though. Abrams catches again, and yeah, just too much follow-up there. Calco staying a little bit too deep there without ulti, ready for the escape, and catches across the map for Lotos now, evening up pretty much this score line. They are still a little bit low HP. Taz wants to capitalize that and get a counter kill. We're gonna have to settle for just a soul deny instead.
Yeah, they're sending even more to the left-hand side. Lotos trying to even things out there, not give up the Guardian, get left first if possible. But while this is going on, Abraham's more than willing to just throw more to the right, get right side Guardian. Left, the only Guardian left to be gotten.
This Calvin going for a pretty early cult sack here, on tempo with those large creeps spawning, getting a couple boxes out of the side lane, and I mean the side lane quietly turned into a pretty winning one, and Kelvin has been the one reaping the rewards.
About to turn the 3-on-3 here on the left. Guardian all in play. Chain Gang out. One chain gonna break. Blair now going for the melee again. Absolutely stuffed by Paradox here off the carbine. Thrown back a bit. Meanwhile, together, able to chase down onto the Viscous. So far, the Billy ults have seen so far, Jake, not necessarily the most impactful.
Yeah, even catching Vindicta, I think, is like the dream scenario. You're able to pull her back in and maybe get some assistance on the follow-up. But, you know, once you're low HP and you don't really able to do much damage here, Calico could dive this tower, definitely with the threat of the ultimate. Low players on the other side here. They've got to be careful. Guardian seems like it's going to be going down for sure.
You just have too many people for Abraham's rotated over. It's going to give him the extra item slot and the swap on the Billy and the quick dispatch. Abraham's now 6K lead, but the true lead here, Jake, is just what they've done in terms of map control with all Guardians down.
Yeah, and this is, you know, trapped in the Thunderdome with Kelvin healing up, trying to dive him under the tower, but Mo was ready for the assist, and feeding kills to the gun Kelvin is a really bad spot to be. You know, I don't think Kelvin's nearly at critical mass yet, but you accelerate him here to the cult sack. He's able to eat some large creeps, able to snowball and really get into those some of those next items. I think Kelvin, when he's at like 15, 20K with a couple of these key gun items, is going to become a huge, huge threat, especially with people like so much setup for him to get these catches.
Well, I think the cool thing about the gun Kelvin into the late game is that oftentimes for Kelvin, if you're going to dome for a kill, you need someone coordinated with you. But in the late game, if you go gun Kelvin and it is effective, you can just go to a lane where someone for Lotos may have just been trying to get some solo farm like the Infernus, drop the dome, and just kill him in the dome, in theory. So your ability to kind of freelance and make dome effective is way more powerful if you can actually be your own follow-through.
Yeah, definitely is something to watch out for. But I mean, across the board, Abraham's just eking out those moderate advantages on all lanes. They still have all three Guardians up, and I don't think that's necessarily a huge problem just yet for Lotos, but it feels like flex slots tend to become an issue in the next, let's say, 10 minutes. If you're still not able to clear those three Guardians, it ends up becoming a big, big problem. And, you know, I don't see the team fights getting much easier for Lotos. They got to get active on the map. They have a window here, I'd say, where with all the ultimates, or most of them down for Abraham's, maybe you can get something done as they look to pressure a Guardian here. Maybe they could grab an urn or something like that. But the game's looking pretty scary right now for Lotos, on the edge of a knife. A kill here, though, starts to bring things back.
Abraham's overloading left-hand side. Anyone left for Lotos here gonna have to rotate out as urn control. Gonna go the way of Abraham's. And one thing I have to say is that it's been such a tough game for Pyro that I think Billy is the type of frontliner where they need to at least be even with the game, if not ahead, to have good performance. And I don't think you're gonna fear Pyro going on you, but meanwhile, Death Slam looking for jam side. This is gonna be enough to take down the famous gun Kelvin. It absolutely is, with Abrams coming in from the side.
I think that's just the biggest kill on the map, actually, you can get right now, since he's building so greedy on Gun Kelvin. The farm potential is really, really scary. That being said, you do need to keep control of this side of the map. Vin is here with the urn. An urn drop-off would only compound the lead that Abraham has already started to build, but they're not feeling confident enough that they can force it just yet. I think they will get the urn drop, though, and Lotos maybe is just going to take a trade on this side Guardian, bringing 3 to the opposite side of the map. Decent decision, but soul-wise, I think this is good for Abrahams.
Yeah, I mean, Abrahams is going to have a healthy lead off this and feed the Calco a little bit more support. Looking at Abrams, though. Quick charge here on the task. Under pressure all the way. Main prize here, though, is the Guardian. Get the extra slot. Go from there, and in fact, they still need the Guardian middle, so that's still not going to be extra slot. But gets him along the way. Lash on the chase down. Doesn't let Task get away.
It's a big kill, not just getting Guardians, but also following up with kills is massive. If they're able to catch Kelvin here, would be huge, but Kelvin slides away with that Ice Path, can be a pretty hard hero to catch. And now the trades are coming in. The counter rotate came through. ABL just going to rip the 7 ult to secure that exit kill. Sonya should be able to dance his way out of there on the Lash, especially with creeps crashing on the Walker like this. And Lotus have done well there to play the map both sides and grab 2 of the side Guardians. I think the tougher challenge, though, especially since they have no ultimates to speak of here, is going to be taking that mid Guardian, which arguably is the most important one since it keeps that very accessible mid shop up, allowing some of these greedier characters to keep their farm on the map more consistent.
And beyond that, too, having mid Guardian still up just limits your mobility into the enemy side of the map. Also, there's a brief moment, but Abraham's is about the most evenly balanced economy I've ever seen. There was a moment where they were all 10K. Now they're all 11K, Jake. I mean, this is just full share and share alike when it comes to the soul economy for Abraham's right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this a lot in Deadlock compared to a lot of other games in similar genres. There's just much less of a division between quote-unquote supports and frontliners and carries. It's just, for me at least, it's not exactly how the game works. There's a little bit of farm prio, especially as you get later into the game and you choose, hey, who wants to catch that, you know, stack of 3 or 4 enemy creep waves. It's like 1 or 2K souls just straight up. That's going to go to your most heavy late game heroes. But in the early game, the mid game, it's much more about just how your individual game is going. And, you know, like you said, across the board for Abrams, everyone's looking pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would kind of expect ABL to be a little bit further ahead in the sen, but he's actually been a more active member in some of these fights, not sitting back. Whereas, you know, I think if Jamside's playing, it'd be kind of reverse. But up here, into the double Gamba. Quick little fight going down as you see Calco running away. Death Slam off on the other side of the map, down and in. But here comes Mo out of nowhere, preventing some of the follow through. It's all getting into it down here in the middle. See Sanya right now, trying to back off, reposition as the rest of Abraham's rotates in.
That's a massive catch there from Saint. Denying the slam, it looks like that makes the difference to save Vindicta and keep her alive, allow the turnaround to come in. And so not only do you get the Viscous kill, but you also crucially win a fight around this mid lane Guardian and keep control of the area. Gun Kelvin fighting with Billy, maybe one of the few heroes who can tango, though, inside that Kelvin dome.
Well, normally I would say yes, but the problem is Billy, not quite the farm needed to do that. And now, take a look here. You had the other frontliner come on in. Both front lines for Lotos just getting the hands from Kelvin over near the left-hand side. So, yeah, I mean, normally support Kelvin, a little bit less farm, may have worked out for Billy, but not quite the way this game has turned out.
Swap goes a little wide for Taz. I think Sonya should be able to dance his way out of that. They're still trying to chase him down, but in the meantime, I mean, the space was created, Lotos, right? Like, it was expensive. They lost a few players, but they did grab that mid lane Guardian, which I think is worth the cost. You really need to open up that first flex slot. A lot of item builds really rely on, especially the first one, coming up relatively early. So I think it is, in the end, worth. However, Abrahams expand the lead to 10K, and we are reaching the point in the game where one big team fight, mid-boss, starts to become an option, especially if Saf is close to that Alk Fire. I don't know if he's prioritizing that. I don't know if that's necessarily, I mean, with all the mobility on Lotus, I don't think I would either, but it's one of those items that really does escalate an early mid-boss attempt.
Yeah, it's also usually core on Vindicta, depending where it is. Also, speaking of core items, you were talking about Express Shot Viscous, you know, coming into priority and Coffin, grabbing that just a bit ago. But first urn control here. Gotta come in here from Lotos on the 15-minute urn. And you just see Sai grabbing it, running away.
If they can get out with no deaths, but I don't think they're going to be able to. I mean, the thing is, though, it is an easy urn turn-in. That's why Lotos went for that super high prior one. Honestly, they should be able to get the urn turn-in for free. I'd be surprised if Abrahams even want to contest at that position on the map. However, elsewhere on the map, you know, you've got a player running the urn, and Abrahams are just taking that opportunity to shove the opposite side walker. I think this is the perfect move in this spot. I don't think you can really contest the urn, but maybe you can get something elsewhere on the map. That being said, 3 players from Lotos coming in together and wanting to hold this walker.
Yeah, they're trying to make it so at the very least that all they lose is a bit of walker HP, but they're just getting hit from all sides. They don't really have the personnel for a full defense the way that they would like here. But 7 with the Storm Cloud for Abrahams, trying to buy enough to get it. Hey, Sanya in with the Death Slam, able to take him out, and in the end, it's enough to actually save the walker with a bit of HP remaining. So all they pay for the urn there, Jake, in the trade is about 50% HP on the walker. It's actually a pretty good trade.
both of the initiators there missing their catch ultis, or Taz just missed the lockdown shot there. Didn't even go for the swap without it. It seems like without Holiday's lasso, relatively long cooldown there, and Taz went greedy here, grabbing the cult sack. So he is going to scale pretty well on the Paradox, which makes a lot of sense given his good early game.
Yeah, and also, I mean, Paradox just having more and more increased value in priority as it goes on. See Viscous rolling around, no swap could be used. It says, you know what, Coffin, you can have that one. Just,
has to just
continue rolling away.
Pure defense roll, he's going to just rotate towards the mid lane on that. A lot of players here for Lotos, and Kelvin's maybe coming into the wrong neighborhood. However, this Kelvin quite farmed, has the ultimate online.
Let's see if Jamside's going to be able to get away if he gets jumped on here. A whole lot of blue here in the left middle, but taking a look at Jamside's position, getting backed up by Tess, should be okay. If you remember last week, Jamside getting picked off was actually kind of the bane of Abraham's into the money match, but not quite the case this time around.
And this fight's starting to get pretty scary here for Lotos. They don't have the HP to really stay into this one. Abrams up with the ulti, but looks like he's surrounded. And the Kelvin Dome, good luck fighting with the +1 as well. Taz inside Warp Zone just a second early, but I mean, he has to take a risk here on Abrams right now. And lives a little bit longer, but the kills are coming in, and Siphon Bolt's up for Kelvin. This Kelvin is a monster now. This is really the item I think that activates him here with the build. He's going to be so tanky, so hard to 1v1. And you think about Lotos, I mean, I feel like Infernus is the only one who has a real hope of actually DPSing down the Kelvin, but I don't know that Infernus can stand toe-to-toe, especially not in a Frozen Shelter.
We got a little bit of a thematic carry versus carry going here. You got the ice carry and the fire carry facing off, and for what we've seen so far, the gun carry from Jamside actually pretty effective on the Kelvin here so far, where I can see people in chat probably groaning, it's like, no, not my ranked games. Like, maybe Jamside can pull off the gun Kelvin, but can the person in your ranked games, maybe a different story.
Chat's just obsessed with Shiv. Is Shiv good or does Shiv suck, Jake?
I mean, Shiv is, I think, actually okay right now. It got nerfed pretty hard. You know, I think in coordinated games, the value of the execute is so high if you're really playing for it. But as I say that, hold on. The catch here onto Taz, a great hero to catch, but hold on. They have this much more support here for the side of Abrahams coming in to assist that. Swap in, denies Abrams himself here from getting onto that zip, and it should be 2 quick kills for Abrams. I think this is a potential mid-boss. Mid lane, though, pressured against them makes that a little bit more of a risky choice.
Yeah, where they're at on the map, given when Lotos is going to be back up, I think the mid-boss may not have the right timing for it. Just the laning not quite matching up. But you take a look at the game state right now. Abrahams is nursing a pretty healthy lead here so far. And one thing that's actually interesting, though, for the rough early game he had, Pyro's actually caught up, Jake. Like, Pyro was significantly far behind in the first 10 minutes, and now is caught up to be average with the game, arguably a little bit ahead. So kind of interesting on the Billy note.
Yeah, Billy, I think, does have a deceptively fast farm speed, despite not having. I mean, I guess that bat is actually kind of a monster farm skill, just like low cooldown nuking, keep being able to burst down camps, especially the melee builds and some AoE are pretty good for taking down, especially those medium camps that are so relevant at this stage of the game. However, both buffs coming up. Seems like it's a trade. I would think Lotos are going to grab the right side buff, but you're seeing Abraham start to invade and steal some camps from the opponent's side of the map and slowly bleed out Lotos.
All right, into a fight. Off here on the left, swap coming in. Tass just gonna use the swap to get out some of the danger right now. Back over to the Walker. But looking to the left, Urn dropping here in just a moment, and see how the Urn is played. Together already grabbing as Abrahams goes in. Walker pressure though still maintained off here on the right side.
Instant catch here onto Taz, and I mean, this is going from bad to worse. Abraham's throwing good money after bad, too desperate to hang on to that Walker, but without the 7, I just don't think it was realistic for them. And Lotus going to come back and grab the buff very late, didn't prioritize it, getting it earlier. Instead, they brought their players to the fight and got rewarded for that call. Meanwhile, Infernus cooked up a pretty nice game. I'd love if we can maybe take a peek at Infernus and see what he's building towards right now. I think he's going to be that key element. He's been mostly farming for most of this game, as is, I think, really the nature of his role. Urn run coming in, I think that's pretty unrealistic at this phase of the game. And pretty standard across the board build here. A lot of tankiness for Infernus, but he looks like going for a bit of gun prio here with the Toxic. with that extra reload. And Boundless up next. So there's a real power spike coming with this Boundless up in just a couple hundred souls here for Infernus. You can start to get active in terms of the gun carry.
I'm actually kind of worried right now for Abrahams. I think, we talked about win conditions. I think Abrahams with their comp probably needed more of a lead than they have right now. I mean, this urn is going to get them a little bit back up to where they want. But as the game goes later, I don't know if Gun Kelvin actually stacks up as well versus a well-farmed Infernus carry, nor on the frontline note, like Mo tends to fall off a bit relative to heroes, well, like Abrams and Billy. I think that's the case. We don't have quite enough data. I think there's a world where like the actual team fighting here may start to go the way of Lotos, especially if they can open up and get a good spirit lasso out of Ray.
Yeah, definitely good catches are nice. I think it's too soon to tell for me at least how relevant Billy is in these late game team fights, how effective he can be, especially can he navigate playing around the Kelvin or getting locked down by the Mo or even somebody like Vindicta. 7 is probably the most vulnerable hero on the team though for Abrahams. The best catch ideally for Lotos, and they do have a lot of catch to get on top of 7, so I think something like an Unstoppable is also going to be a key item for ABL, but it's kind of one of those items you don't want to go too early. You don't want to be too defensive. You still want to have a massive damage threat and farm speed on the set.
10. How many there are?
Look at the positioning right now. Abraham's largely clustered around the middle, a little bit into Lotos territory. And take a look at Taz. Taz right now is just hunting for swap opportunities. Just thinking about maybe going for Sanya. Doesn't quite line it up. But now, over here, onto the right-hand side. 2 ships crossing night. Playmaker, the Playmaker. Taz looking for the Holiday. Meanwhile, Rayek just gonna back out. Combo, though, is in, and Rayek cannot get away. So quick pick coming on in for Abrahams. Let's see what they do for it after.
Yeah, I think this is probably just going to be a kill that just lets you steal more camps, lets you like incrementally get ahead. We are reaching that phase of the game though where everyone's farm speed is so high, and he has debuff remover available for Lash. Crucial item I think in this game against Vindicta. One of those cooldowns that you really want to be aware of as far as playing against the opposing team, and they're just escalating, snowballing into another kill. Unfortunately, Kelvin blocks out Taz, though I think a little bit of anti-synergy, and that's allowing Billy to maybe play his way out of this one. Slowing Hex catching him, some cheeky wall jumping, backstabber as well, procced on him, and they are hunting down this Billy to the ends of the earth. I think he may have just played his way out of it, though.
Yeah, I think Billy had way too much HP remaining as he was able to hit the jump pads. Like, if you have that much HP left, actually finishing it off without some form of extra CC like a carbine or otherwise, pretty difficult, especially against Billy, who's generally going to be a little bit more tanky anyways. But taking a look at the bottom right-hand side, things may get a little bit rough here for Sai. See if Sai gets caught out. See Abraham's coming on in turn, but is able to just take the jump pads, get away.
And the Spellbreaker on 7, kind of interesting choice. I guess this deals with a lot of the nuking threat from your Lash, from your Holiday, and even Viscous can spam those nukes in. So I think the Spellbreaker is going to be a lot of that tankiness that maybe ABL wants to be a hero who says, okay, come jump on me, try it first. Taz, meanwhile, caught shopping. Classic place to be caught by the TP. Abrams on top of him trying to follow up, but there's more assist here, and I think this should be a defensive ult. No, Abrams wants to get back in, diving in, and assistance is there. Lotos grab a nice kill, and they've been able to turn a lot of these pickoffs despite being at that 10-15k lead. Disadvantage, I mean.
Also, taking down the Paradox just is mental relief a little bit, Jake. When you think about how you can move around the map, you don't have to worry about tasks coming out of the shadows, popping a carbine and a swap on you. You have a little bit more freedom to roam around, get into enemy camps, and not have it be quite as likely to be punished. And, if you're Lotos right now, you'd love to chain this in here, get into another fight in the next 20 seconds or so, while you have this window of opportunity.
Yeah, this will be a moment. I wonder if there is going to be, okay, maybe an attempt on mid-boss. No, I think he's just passing through, moving quick. Potential catch here on the urn pickup. This is going to be a fight. Stun already coming in, and look at that follow-up, man. 7 is fast. He's online and just fearless with the Boundless, with the Spellbreaker as well. Not scared to dive into enemy territory. Holiday trying to slip away from the 7. I don't know if you can take that fight. Infernus is probably the one massive gun threat that you have to respect, but the Holiday chase down is good from Calico, and 7 slips away.
Not the easiest chase down either, where even though Rayek got caught a little bit lacking at the beginning, chasing down a Holiday is just one of the most frustrating things in the game. But in this case, it happens. Abraham's in control of the urn and looking to just roll it on over. And for Lotos, I mean, they have to make the call. Do you fight this 5v6? You have the Lash in the area. You have the Death Slam good to go. You have options here should you try to contest it, but for now, it's looking like they're going to concede this urn and look to fight another day.
Yeah, Kelvin's not here, but you don't necessarily know that as Lotos. Kelvin would be off map for you, so maybe you're thinking, look, we can test this and we get our Lash ult dome and we're down one. You could honestly lose the game right there. That would probably be a free mid boss for Abraham. So Lotos, they have to pick their spots carefully. You know, one pick off here and there, not going to be the end of the world. But if you lose a big team fight here and the rejuve goes the way of Abraham's, the game is going to get blown wide open. You're probably going to be losing both your remaining walkers, and the map control is really going to go to hell. So Lotos, they've got to be cautious. They've got to be patient. Pick their spot wisely here to come back from a deficit.
They might be looking to fight here on the left. Billy's looking keen to go in onto the 7. Over and in. Get the Ram Rush in. Combo, though, comes out. Combo met with Cube. And things getting hot and heavy here on the left. Coming in off the top rope. It's going to Sanya Sniper here on Lash. Death Slam, good to go. As Billy's chasing down the ground. Lash coming in over the top. Still has the option. Mo getting beaten up on all sides here. And this is going to be enough to take down Sanya. Sanya just barely...
Saint
lives. Barely able to get away.
Oh my God, Mo. That's like just Mo Krill thing surviving. Getting absolutely torched. A lot of damage. Nice parry though onto the Billy. Just bit off more than he could chew, and that's the risk of these melee builds, right? ABL just comes in with a sneaky parry, completely shuts you down. Stun onto Sonya here on the Lash. Okay, he has the debuff remover. He's able to trick his way out of that one. And Vin died elsewhere. So once again, they've kept the player deficit to 1 to hold on. It's growing. In Furnace, if he gets caught here, this is mid-boss, potentially the game going against him, and they're surrounding him, they're catching him. Counterspell used, popping the ulti, just full desperation here, but I don't see him playing his way out of this yet. Just way too many players all around him, and they're right next to mid. Mo is holding the side lane. This is a great spot for Abrahams, and could be what they need to really break the game open.
They're going to get mid-boss here. There's not going to be a contest coming in from it, so all rejuves going their way. And think about how that last fight started, Jake. It basically started out where Pyro says, hey, let's go in, we can get this Mo. And Saint just leads them on a very long chase. It takes them way longer to actually secure the pickoff, and they don't even secure it in the end. And they end up overextended. Abrahams eventually counter-rotates in, and it just leads to this chain reaction that means Lotos has 4 players dead and mid-boss gone when it's all said and done.
Yeah, it's kind of 2 options here for Abrahams, and I like that they're really splitting on the map because this rejuve, it lasts a few minutes, right? If you just run it down and take a fight right away with the rejuve, you're almost missing some of the value from this mid-boss, whereas you clear the jungle right now. I mean, you look at the minimap, there's not much jungle on Lotos' side of the map. If Abrahams can play this one slow, split up, and clear a lot of the jungle, and the only way Lotos punish that is by invading and pushing in really aggressively, which, I mean, let's face it, against the rejuve is insanely risky, and it might not be what they want to go for. Like, yeah, you get a catch on this Calico a little bit, but are you really going to hard commit into the triple rejuve? And yeah, they just don't have the players there to do that.
No, and also, if you're Abrahams, your conditions right now, you want both walkers for this rejuve, ideally. Take a look at Coffin.
Oh, full defensive goo ball. He's going to live, but, you know, having the ulti, that's a long CD ulti for the team fight. It's one that you would have loved to have. Lasso as well burned for no real value, right? Like a little harassment, but there's no follow-up there. Infernus is out pushing a side lane, which I wouldn't say is wrong, but in the end, I mean, I think this is just going to be walkers down and not even a trade in terms of the ultis, the skills used. Abrahams is going to be able to just go back and farm more, get their gold onto the map, and just continue to expand this lead. Lotos, the game is slipping out of their fingers right now.
Yeah, and I think for Lotos, they were nearly to what could have been a really good window for them, given their team comp, if they could have gotten a late-game team fight, even around like 180k, 180k. But now that the lead is ballooned to 32k ahead, the stat difference really starts to become a big problem for them in some of these fights where their win conditions have narrowed, Jake. I think to the point of needing to catch Abrahams in a bad spot. Like, if you were to play it in the way that, say, Buff Enjoyers did last week, you would be looking to go, can we catch Jamside out, get a pick, and then go from there. But I think catching Jamside out, especially on a gun Kelvin, not as likely as that's some jump pad difficulties there, Jake.
Yeah, no, believe me, man. You don't want to see me in the games trying to get on the jump pad. I can't blame Taz, you know, glass houses and all. Calico just warp speeding around the map. It's good to see the Calico back in play, man. This hero's insane. 7 picks up that Transcendent cooldown. It's going to have 100% uptime there on the Power Surge. So powerful. And yeah, there's not really even an attempt to contest Urn, and the lead is reaching that point where you start to get super scared. Toxic, Spirit Shred, both online for this 7. And I mean, he's gone for a pretty tanky build as well, recognizing that Lotos want to initiate on him, want to catch him. And they really do have these 2 very strong stand-up carries in the team fight. Kelvin plus 7 together is pretty scary to try and come into these heroes. They both have massive team fighting skills. If you want to catch them first, then you might be biting off more than you can chew.
Shrines going down, and Lotos, I mean, respecting the Rejuvenator, but maybe too much. About another 20 seconds so left on the Rejuvenator, and Lotos has just avoided any hard commits here, Jake. They give up all their base Guardians, they give up Shrines and first stage Patron, and I don't know, I kind of look as a full commit might have been the end of the game, so maybe it was the right play, but it's difficult to watch as Rejuvenator still has time left, and they catch Ray.
They're trying to wait out the end of the rejuve. They get a lash off. I don't think that's getting people into the fountain, though, and this Kelvin ult's great. It's going to protect the 7, and even Viscous just doesn't have the tankiness to survive that. Stuns come in, and game over here, ZP. Abraham's going to be advancing into that money match. Players dropping like flies, 7. 3 players, all rejuves gone right away, but they've done enough damage, I think, and the Patron is down. Players trying to get into this fight, they have to on Lotos. They cannot afford to let that Patron get pressured, but yeah, 7 still so tanky with that Spellbreaker. Lash, the debuff remover does keep him alive, and Furnace is still up to fight, but yeah, they're just pumping damage now into the Patron, and game over here.
Patron gonna go down, and Abraham's getting their rematch against Buff Enjoyers in the money match, which of course back up to $1,000 per region, courtesy of Intel. And I gotta say, it was an interesting game. I was not expecting the gun, Kelvin, Jake, but what more can you say? It worked.
Look, you know, anything can work. We talked about innovative builds on the new heroes, but, you know, I think one of the things I've seen, and like I played a lot of Dota in the past, and like, you know, there's always something new. There's always something unexplored, even sometimes years after heroes are released and people thought they've explored everything, because, you know, some of these top players with an innovative style can find the perfect answer. And having options like this, having like a gun Kelvin in your pocket, makes it so much harder to draft against you when a hero can truly slot into multiple styles, multiple roles. Like, when you draft that Kelvin, you don't necessarily know if he's going to be going to jam side playing gun carry or support.
Gentlemen, great cast. Wasn't as long of a game as I was hoping for. ZP, did they go... Was their first mistake not picking Doorman?
It's hard to say at the competitive level. I would have liked to have seen it, if nothing else, for the community appeal going in. I think that hero is still has untapped potential, but maybe just, you know, the emphasis, the word untapped. They're not quite ready to use it on a competitive level. I mean, look, in terms of draft, I think that what Lotos drafted with was a perfectly viable comp, and I mean, had win conditions all the way into the late game. Just some things didn't quite work out, and I think part of that is just, you look back at the engage they went into on the Saints, where they just essentially got baited by Mo and Krill, don't finish off the pick, and it leads to like this devastating team fight where they give up 4 for nothing, and at that point they just couldn't recover.
Let's take a look at some of the best highlights from this game. Paradox picked with the first pick, put to use in the early game. Who was kind of the star, though? If you're looking for an MVP, was there a top performer from the Abrahams tonight?
I was pretty impressed with the gun Kelvin. I mean, it's not something we see that much of, but I felt like a lot of these fights were, you know, almost over before they began with some of these catches. I think also got to give a lot of credit to Saint on the Mo. You know, had this big interrupt here in the mid lane fight, kept Vindicta alive, got her out of the scenario. And a lot of key catches baiting some of these engagements with just his incredible tankiness. So I think this is really an across-the-board win. You know, if you're looking for an MVP, maybe it's the Kelvin, maybe the 7 also. Once he got into some of these key tanky items in the late game, he was just a massive problem. I don't think they killed him once after he had the Spellbreaker, except maybe with the rejuve.
ZP, Billy is now 0-3 on stream. You're still putting faith in this guy.
He's the GOAT. But it may not be the GOAT that everyone's thinking about in regards to that. I think Billy, on face value, his kit still feels to be like it could be strong, but I'm not sure people are there yet. I think
7 days in, they haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at some of Pyro's play here, Pyro was missing on some combos that I feel like you give another 3 or 4 weeks at comp scene would be more automatic. And I'm not blaming Pyro as much there. It's still a new hero, but has Billy been played to his potential in these losses? I kind of doubt it.
Poor Billy. Poor Lotos. That is the end of the road for them once again, but the Abrahams are moving forward. Jake, if you were going to describe their play style, are they the best team in Europe? Are they the second best team? What makes them a consistent force? I know they're missing Hoot, but they didn't look too shabby in this qualifier matchup.
Yeah, Abraham, something that they've shown a lot over the weeks and months in competitive Deadlock is that they're really good at, you know, slowly incrementally expanding those leads, at, like, you know, taking the trades on the map. And that's going to be a mark of all the top teams really in the game, is that they don't overplay their hand with a given lead. They know how to get just that little bit more out of the map, just to grow the lead little by little and make sure they never give up the one decisive fight that lets the comeback get going. They always, I think, are really wise to bring numbers to the right engagements and not throw good money after bad. So just the cleanliness, the execution, and the awareness of the macro play at this level, you need it to compete.
All right, we're going to take a look at the stats and, of course, our player of the match before we get into our money matchup. Buff Enjoyers, a.k.a. former Virtus Pro, waiting for our $1,000 matchup for Europe that is guaranteed by our new partner, Intel. Intel, welcome to the night shift. Episode 3, a.k.a. the third shift, is up and running, and already we have one result in the book. ZP, if they just woke up, they're tuning in. What'd they miss in our first game?
You missed Gun Kelvin. That's what you missed. He's back. Where you go, oh, Kelvin, the support guy, right? Saint with like top healing the game, right? No. What if we give it to Jamside instead and you have a relentless chase down Gun Kelvin? And take a look at the damage, though. Still falling behind ABL, though not too surprised. Just you pop one Storm Cloud and it'll do a little bit of damage padding, I'll say.
It's a cool build from ABL. The early Spellbreaker there, just being so tanky and hard to kill, recognizing that they keep trying to catch him and initiate on it.
If you're going to look at Lotos' build, is there anything that kind of stood out as a mistake? Or was this just a plan that never really got its chance to unfold?
It's interesting to me that the Billy doesn't go for like the heavy melee. They just go for the life strike and the spirit strike. So they're more relying on the bat to get initiations and, the extra charge there. So, playing that really cooldown heavy spell, I think it makes sense for Billy in a way. Maybe something, if I was going to point to one thing, maybe the Ricochet and Furnace maybe needed to be all in on the single target this game with the risk of getting domed in with Kelvin or trying to burn down somebody off of that initial holiday catch. There's an argument for that, for maybe skipping Ricochet this game, but across the board, I think this is just giving him earning the win. I don't know if I would call this really like mistakes or errors for Lotos.
Who's trying to drown you, Jake? Someone is over on your side of the internet. A little goblin's pulling you under. We're going to throw you a life preserver. In the meantime, ZP, you're looking at 10 players worth of stats. What is your favorite number on this screen? What are you staring down? Who's your MVP?
MVP, it's not necessarily by the numbers, but I think it has to be for bringing it back into the fray and maybe ruining a bunch of pub games with people trying to copy the build unsuccessfully. For me, it's got to be Jamside, bringing out the Gun Kelvin and old friend, welcome back. It still worked here for Abrahams. Do I think they'll pull it out against VP? Buff Enjoyers? Unsure, but it's always cool to see things like this come out of nowhere. No one went into the day expecting this particular Kelvin build to come back, but it's one of the cool things about watching competitive Deadlock is that you can go into any given week and people will have a different take on the meta, powered either by recent changes, item builds, or just fresh inspiration. And it definitely felt like something that Lotos was not entirely expecting going into the game.
Yeah, you gotta love aggressive play, and the aggressive Kelvin is not something we have seen in my first two shifts here at the night shift. I'm loving Deadlock. I am loving what the Abrahams are bringing to the stage, but looking at the numbers, Kelvin, Vindicta, Calico, all banned in week 1. That was the week that Abrahams won. If those characters disappear, what else could we expect Jamside to be rocking moving forward, ZP?
I think for Jamside, his hero pool has been relatively well-defined. The Kelvin, sort of a newer, or at least a throwback that we've seen every now and then, but Jamside is going to be within the sphere of Infernus, Seven, probably Kelvin from what we saw here, or if you go deep enough into the lore, there was an era where Jamside was playing a lot of Gun McGinnis, but that aspect of Jamside hasn't really been seen since one of the last one-win bombshell tournaments, so
it's
don't
been
know
a
if we're
minute.
going to see that.
It's time to bring it back. It's football season here in America. Let's celebrate with our European friends as Buff Enjoyers Abrahams are going ding, 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 round 3 in our EU Finals matchup. That is coming up in just a moment. While we give our players a second to get some water, Jake, we've got to give some love to Intel because Intel Gamer Days are right now. And if you get discounts, not only on just the gear, but they're also going to give you a game, right? Black Ops 6 is out, and they want you to have it. Big shout out to our friends at Intel making this happen.
Am I still underwater? Let's find out. What do you guys think?
You're good.
Okay,
You're clean
okay. Maybe my internet still has a couple kinks to get out. We'll see. Hopefully you guys don't have to suffer through my drowning experience again. But yeah, gotta check out these Intel Gamer Games. Thanks for Intel to sponsor this and bring this tournament back to life. Get it, off the ground once again. It's always great seeing them support here in the Deadlock community.
ZP, I found the script. Get discounts on a wide variety of Intel powered desktops, laptops, and qualifying purchases. Can you earn you that Black Ops Battlefield 6? Jesus, we need a break. When we come back, I'm going to try that again. Intel, close your eyes. We just blacked out for a second. The gameplay was too good. It gets better, but we're going to do the promo before that kicks off when we come back. It's Night Shift.